Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. I'm your host Frank Pereira. Here are the latest headlines. Supreme Court removes CBI Director Ranjit Sinha from overseeing 2G scam probe, says allegations against him of protecting some accused appear to be prima facie credible. Self-styled godman Rampal sent to judicial custody till 28th of this month. Special investigation team to probe cases against him. Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif rubs it in, says it will not talk to India without talking to Kashmiri separatists first. And it's yet another draw between Vishwanathan Anand and Magnus Carlsen in Game 9 of the World Chess Championship. Anand now has 4 points to Carlsen's 5. Well, 12 days before he was due to retire, CBI Director Ranjit Sinha suffered a major blow to his reputation and his integrity when the Supreme Court removed him from the 2G scam case. The Apex Court said that the allegations against him of protecting some accused in the case appear to be prima facie credible.
In an unprecedented order, the Supreme Court today handed over the 2G scam case to the senior-most officer after current CBI Director Ranjit Sinha. This came after a bench headed by Chief Justice H.L. Datu asked Sinha to recuse himself from the case. The bench, however, refused to pass an elaborate order on the issue, saying it would tarnish the image and reputation of the premier agency.
After hearing all the arguments, the court passed a short order saying that they are not inclined to give detailed reasons for this order because that might damage the reputation of the CBI. But the court said that from henceforth, the CBI Director, Mr. Ranjit Sinha, should not interfere or participate at all in the 2G investigations or the trial.
Today the order has passed a one-line order, basically without commenting on the Director CBI or on the CBI, and said that he should recuse from the 2G trial, primarily because the special prosecutor who has been appointed by the court was not unhappy with the Director CBI in the 2G matter.
The top cop, who is due to retire on December 2nd, has been accused of trying to shield some 2G scam accused. The court observed that apparently all was not well and seemingly the allegations made by an NGO against Ranjit Sinha had some credibility.
The Bharatiya Janata Party has been a party which has been exposing the truth right from the very beginning. Today also we maintain that all those who are in any way trying to hide the facts from the public should be exposed, and the people have every right to know the truth.
If he is asked by the highest court that he should keep off from the investigation, which is mainly being done by him, he as the leader, so that shows that, the highest judiciary in the country has expressed their dissatisfaction or no confidence in the man who is heading the investigative agency.
By not getting him out of CBI, but only saying you shall not deal with these cases, the court has given him a bigger blow.
The CBI chief's role was criticized by the Supreme Court appointed Special Public Prosecutor Anand Grover after Sinha named a senior IPS officer as the mole in the team. The Apex Court also recalled its earlier order by which it directed the NGO to disclose the name of the whistleblower who had provided documents and visitor's diary of Sinha's residence. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on, now arrested self-styled godman Rampal is to stay in jail till his next hearing on the 28th of this month. A special investigation team is to probe the case against him. 469 have been arrested so far, including 3 from Nepal. Here's a detailed report.
Self-styled godman Rampal being produced in court. The Punjab and Haryana High Court cancelled his bail in a murder case registered in 2006 after a clash at his Rohtak ashram resulted in the death of one person. The bail was cancelled after it was made clear that Rampal had been arrested in a contempt of court case. Rampal had disobeyed High Court directives for appearing before it, citing ill health.
देखो इसका डिफेंस नहीं, ये सच्चाई है कि वो पहले बीमार थे और वो खुद कैप्टिविटी में थे, खुद बंधक बनाया हुआ था उनको, इसलिए वो कोर्ट में पेश नहीं हो पाए, वरना तो मैटर कुछ नहीं था, कंटेम्प्ट, क्रिमिनल कंटेम्प्ट थी, कोर्ट में पेश होते नोटिस ही हुआ था, कोर्ट का शुरू में नोटिस ही था, कोई नॉन अवेलेबल वारंट नहीं थे।
He was arrested from his ashram in Barwala in Hisar district last night. Rampal underwent a mandatory medical test at a government hospital in Panchkula in the morning, where all his health parameters were found to be stable. During the next hearing, the Haryana police chief has been asked to file an affidavit detailing the operation that led to his arrest regarding arms and ammunition in the ashram and loss of property.
खंडपीठ ने चीफ सेक्रेटरी हरियाणा को भी निर्देश दिया है कि एक एफिडेविट रिपोर्ट दायर करें जिसमें रामपाल की सारी प्रॉपर्टीज के बारे में कोर्ट को इंफॉर्मेशन दी जाए.
Followers coming out of Rampal's Barwala ashram say they had been held hostage by him and his henchmen. Clashes between his supporters and security personnel on Tuesday left over 200 injured. 6 persons, including an infant, had also died, and the cause of their death was being probed. Haryana police has also ordered setting up of a special investigation team to probe certain cases against Rampal. Over 35 fresh cases, including that of sedition, have been slapped against the 63-year-old godman and his followers that include his key aides. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Union Cabinet has cleared 3 key framework agreements to be signed with SAARC member nations during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Nepal for the 18th SAARC summit on November 26th and 27th. The 3 agreements focus on working with SAARC nations to enhance rail and road connectivity and setting up of a regional power grid. The Cabinet also gave the green signal to MOU between India and Nepal to strengthen cooperation in the field of tourism. The Cabinet approved signing of SAARC Framework Agreement for Energy Cooperation and ratification of the SAARC Motor Vehicles Agreement. The signing and ratification of the SAARC Regional Railways Agreement by India was also cleared. Well, days after warning China against any construction on Indian territory, Home Minister Rajnath Singh has said incursions by Chinese troops hurt friendly ties between the two countries. Singh blamed the Congress, saying that India lost precious territory to China and Pakistan due to wrong policies of the previous government. He held out a warning to China and said, and I quote, "China has illegally occupied Aksai Chin in Ladakh and incursions by Chinese troops don't augur well for the maintaining of cordial ties," unquote. India has firmly and repeatedly rejected China's claims to Arunachal Pradesh and Aksai Chin, which covers about 40,000 square kilometers in the Ladakh region of Kashmir. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has been working to improve infrastructure in border areas and has already recently eased environmental curbs to allow the buildings of roads and military facilities in Arunachal Pradesh. China has objected to India's plans to build nearly 50 border posts in the rugged mountain state. China has vastly improved its own roads and is building or extending airports on its side of the border in Tibet. Meanwhile, the Congress has raised a red flag against the BJP, questioning the decision of State Bank of India to give a $1 billion loan to the Adani Group for the Carmichael coal mine in Australia on the sidelines of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the country. Party leader Ajay Markan hit out at the Prime Minister, alleging Modi himself appeared to be keen on ensuring that Adani got the permission and funding for the mining project. Markan also asked if the State Bank of India had done the due diligence before extending the massive loan to Adani Group for development of coal mine in Australia. He also quoted a foreign newspaper which claimed that 5 international banks had declined to fund Adani's project. Meanwhile, SBI chairperson Arundhati Bhattacharya rejected the allegation, saying this is not a loan sanction but a memorandum of understanding.
वापस लेकर के आने की वायदा करने वाली सरकार किस प्रकार से काला धन को ही बढ़ावा दे रही है, इस वायदे को जनता के बीच में लेकर के जाने वाली सरकार केवल धनाढ्य उद्योगपतियों को, जो उनके मित्र हैं, केवल उनको फायदा पहुंचाने के लिए और उन्हीं के अच्छे दिन के लिए ये सरकार सिर्फ प्रयासरत है.
Well, we'll slip into a short break now, but still to come on the show, Sri Lankan President Rajapaksa declares snap presidential polls seeking a record third term. That and much more. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Let's now take a look at some news-making events lined up for the day today in our special segment, The Day Ahead. A day after returning from a three-nation tour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to kickstart election campaigning in poll-bound Jharkhand and Jammu and Kashmir. He will hit the campaign trail in Jharkhand today by addressing rallies in Palamu district. Since Palamu lies in the Naxal belt, massive security arrangements have been made for the Prime Minister's rally. Jharkhand goes to polls in the first phase on November 25th. Congress President Sonia Gandhi will launch the election campaign in Jammu and Kashmir. She is scheduled to address rallies in Bandipora and Ramban. Sonia will be accompanied by Party General Secretary and State in charge Ambika Soni and state leaders Ghulam Nabi Azad and Saifuddin Sood. The party is expecting workers from across the valley to attend the rallies, especially in Bandipora, which is considered a party stronghold. Today is the last day to file nominations for the third phase of polling in Jharkhand and Jammu and Kashmir. Polling in the third phase will be held in 16 constituencies of Jammu and Kashmir and 17 in Jharkhand on December 9th. Nominations for this phase began on November 14th. Scrutiny will take place tomorrow. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation has convened a meeting of all state secretaries today to discuss provision of temporary and permanent shelters for the homeless in urban areas. The meet will discuss the number of homeless people in states and union territories, number of temporary and permanent shelters available for them, future plans for construction and improvement of shelters, and the steps taken by states and union territories to implement the scheme of shelters for urban homes under the National Urban Livelihood Mission. The three-day World Hindu Congress that aims to unite Hindus across the globe begins in New Delhi today. It's been organized by the World Hindu Foundation with the theme of Step Together, Express Together. Nearly 1,500 delegates from over 40 countries are expected to participate in the event. RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat, Tibetan leader in exile Dalai Lama and BJP President Amit Shah are expected to be present. Moving on now, Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has ruled out bilateral talks with India without talking to Kashmiri separatists. The remarks are a direct snub to India's stand. The centre called off a bilateral meeting with Pakistan last August after the Pakistan High Commissioner ignored India's warning on his meeting separatists. Here's a detailed report.
After raking up Kashmir issue at the UN General Assembly, Pakistan has stepped up pressure on India to resume bilateral dialogue process. This time, Islamabad has set its own conditions. Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif wants talks with Kashmiri separatists first before resuming dialogue. It's a direct snub to India's stand. It's a rebuff to India's decision to call off secretary-level meet in August when Pakistani envoy Abdul Basit met separatists despite centre's opposition. Sharif blamed India for the cancellation of talks, claiming Islamabad initiated the dialogue process. Sharif and Prime Minister Modi will cross each other's path at the SAARC summit in less than a week. But his remark has ruled out any chances of a meeting on the sidelines of the summit.
Obviously, during the summit and during the retreat, leaders do interact. With reference to your question about a bilateral meeting with India, no, I don't have anything to share with you.
Sharif's views were rejected by political parties back home.
कश्मीर भारत का अभिन्न अंग है और नवाज शरीफ साहब को ये मालूम होना चाहिए कि उस पर कोई चर्चा नहीं हो सकती। पूरी तरह से भारत ने आज नहीं अनेक बार अपना पक्ष रख दिया है। भारत के पार्लियामेंट का ये प्रस्ताव है, बल्कि जो पाक ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर है उस पर भी हमारा अधिकार है।
Pakistan should understand that without India's stand, no issue can be decided in Kashmir, and Kashmir problem can be resolved only in a bilateral dialogue with India government and the Pakistan government.
At a time when the two countries are going through a diplomatic freeze, Sharif's remark could worsen chances of revival in talks any soon. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Joining me for a chat this morning on this very subject is senior journalist Pushp Saraf. Very good morning and thank you for joining me on the program. You know, what is the message that Pakistan is trying to send by doing this?
You know, first we have to take note of one thing, that Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was addressing a meeting of the Azad Kashmir Council, which is a supreme body governing the a part of Pakistan occupied territory, which is locally called Azad Kashmir. So he was addressing an audience which was Kashmir-centric. Not only that, he has said that he will hold dialogue after holding discussions with all party Hurriyat conference. He has specifically mentioned Hurriyat conference according to reports in the Pakistani media. Two, he has also said that Pakistan is committed to providing moral, political and diplomatic support to Kashmir, Kashmiri separatists. Three, he has also denied that Pakistan has encouraged terrorism in the valley. He says that Pakistan itself is the biggest victim of terrorism. So we have to take everything into account. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif certainly complicates the situation for a dialogue after the postponement of foreign secretary level talks, the reasons for which the talks were postponed. Because Pakistan then ignored India's advice not to meet separatist leaders. And two, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been consistent in saying that Pakistan should discourage terrorism from its side. But Nawaz Sharif has, I think, addressed that issue also in his own manner and his own style. So that certainly, it seems that talks may become difficult.
No, it is a major roadblock as far as diplomatic ties and diplomatic talks between the two countries are concerned, isn't it?
I will not say that, because I have seen in the past that talks have been held even in the worst circumstances and despite all sorts of provocations. But yes, for the time being, and it seems that process may take some more time. Talks will be held. That is what my belief is.
Because that is the only
way. Timing is complicated.
That is the only way forward, isn't it? I mean, talking is the only way forward, because both countries clearly do not want a war. And, you know, if they want to settle the issue.
The past also shows that they are not averse to it. It is only the manner in which the Pakistan government addresses the issue. That is very important. And why Nawaz Sharif has talked about all this now is not surprising. One, he was addressing the predominantly Kashmiri audience in Muzaffarabad, which is the capital of Azad Kashmir, as they call it locally. And two, that they are trying to put up a brave face after the postponement of the foreign secretary level talks.
Yes. You're talking about the timing. Could the timing of this particular statement by Nawaz Sharif have anything to do with the elections that are around the corner in Jammu and Kashmir, to try and send out some kind of a message, maybe posturing from Pakistan's side?
Yes, but in a way, you see, this has then been their consistent position. They have been, according to them, Hurriyat Conference is the true representative of the people of Kashmir, which is an assessment not shared by many.
Yes.
And according to him again, and according to Pakistan government, they are committed to, promoting their, what I believe that they still believe in the two-nation theory based on religion. And in Kashmir, they see the failure of this theory, and they become desperate at times.
Okay. All right. We'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much, Pushp Saraf, for joining us on the program this morning and putting things into perspective for us.
Thank you.
Moving on now, Sri Lankan President Mahinda Rajapakse has called snap presidential polls seeking a record third term. A message on Rajapakse's Twitter account said that he signed the proclamation declaring his intention to hold a presidential election seeking another term. Rajapakse became eligible to call an election only on Wednesday after completing the mandatory 4 years in his second term. Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya's office said that the presidential proclamation has been received and the due nominations procedure would follow. The election is speculated to be held in the early half of January. An opposition candidate will be announced soon. Well, let's take a look now at some other updates from around the globe in our segment World Wrap. Pakistan and Russia on Thursday signed a military cooperation agreement to deepen their defense ties during the first visit of a Russian defense minister to Pakistan in 45 years. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu's visit to Pakistan comes at a time when US-led NATO forces are drawing down from Afghanistan by the end of this year. There are reports that Moscow had given the go-ahead for the sale of Mi-35 helicopters to Pakistan. At least 45 people have been killed in a suspected Boko Haram attack in northeast Nigeria, officials and witnesses said on Thursday. Mafa, which is about 50 kilometers from the Borno state capital, Maiduguri, has been repeatedly attacked by the armed group. In the latest attack, heavily armed fighters arrived on motorcycles as villagers were at work. Well, the caretaker chairman of Mafa local government area called the attack wicked and despicable. The US says that it is not open to extension of the November 24 deadline to resolve a 12-year-old dispute over Iran's nuclear program, despite sharp disagreements persisting between Tehran and the world powers. Significant gaps remain between negotiating positions on how much capacity for enriching uranium Tehran should have and the speed at which international sanctions should be removed. The United Nations says almost 1,000 people have been killed in Ukraine since a ceasefire came into effect in September, an average of 13 people a day. The UN says 957 people have been killed in the 8 weeks since the truce amid continuing violations on both sides. A new report by the office describes a total breakdown of law and order in rebel-held Donetsk and Luhansk. It also highlights credible allegations of abuses by government forces. Well, in some news just coming in now, nearly 5 million people living illegally in the US can escape deportation under proposed sweeping changes to the US immigration system. The new US immigration policy has to be cleared by the Congress. US President Barack Obama unveiled the immigration policy in a televised address, urging illegal immigrants to come out of the shadows and get right with the law. There are about 11 million illegal immigrants in the US, and this year children coming across the border prompted a crisis. Although the plan will allow millions to work, it won't offer a path to citizenship or entitle them to the same benefits as Americans.
Today, I'm beginning a new effort to fix as much of our immigration system as I can on my own, without Congress. As a first step, I'm directing the Secretary of Homeland Security and the Attorney General to move available and appropriate resources from our interior to the border.
Well, here's a look now at the global stock markets. US stocks rose to a record on Thursday as data showing improvements in the American economy overshadowed concern over weaker growth overseas. In the US markets, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 33.25 points or 0.19% to close the day at 17,719. Standard & Poor's 500 gained 4.03 points or 0.20% to end the business at 2,052. The Nasdaq Composite added 26.16 points or 0.56% to finish at 4,701. Gold prices gained modestly by 85 rupees or 0.55% to 26,590 per 10 grams on sustained offtake from stockists and retail consumers amid buoyant overseas cues. Silver prices moved down by 50 or 0.71% at 37,000 rupees per kilogram after a recent sharp rally owing to sluggish industrial buying. Asian stocks, mostly from Tokyo, fell on Thursday with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to dissolve parliament today ahead of elections as Japan slipped into recession. Japan's Nikkei is down by 121.77 points or 0.70% to 17,179 at the start of today's trading. Hong Kong's Hang Seng lost 4.08 points or 0.02% to 23,353 at the start of trading. Well, let's take a look now at some updates from the sports arena in our sports beat. Chess Grandmaster Viswanathan Anand drew once again with defending world champion Magnus Carlsen of Norway in Game 9 of the 2014 World Championship in Sochi on Thursday. With only 3 games of the 12-game tournament left, Anand will have to pick up his game to beat Carlsen's 5-4 lead. Anand has 2 games left out of the 3 where he will play white pieces. Anand last defeated Carlsen in 2010. Top Indian shuttlers Saina Nehwal and K. Srikanth posted contrasting victories to enter the quarterfinals of the women's and men's singles competition respectively in the Hong Kong Super Series in Kowloon. Srikanth faced stiff resistance before prevailing over his Thai opponent Thong Sang 21-19, 23-21 in a contest that lasted 39 minutes. On the other hand, Saina had an easy outing as she took just 31 minutes to outplay United States' Bai Wing Zhang 21-16, 21-13. Switzerland's Roger Federer, who has been hampered by back problems, has been named to play in the second singles rubber of the Davis Cup final against France's Gael Monfils on Friday. The 17-time Grand Slam champion, looking to give the Swiss a maiden title in the team competition, withdrew from the ATP World Tour final against Novak Djokovic in London last Sunday. 2-time world champion Fernando Alonso's 5-year spell with the Ferrari will be over at the end of the season after the Italian company confirmed the Spaniard's departure on Thursday. Alonso, who won the 2 world titles with Renault in 2005 and 2006, ultimately failed to bring a World Drivers' title to Ferrari, having come runner-up 3 times for the team whose logo is the prancing horse. And finally, it's day 2 today of the 45th International Film Festival of India that is taking place near Panaji, Goa. Megastar Amitabh Bachchan conferred the Film Centenary Award on another legend, Rajinikanth, yesterday. I'll leave you with glimpses of the star-studded event. Have a nice day.